5 100-lap event for the Winston Racing Series Late Model Stock Car Campaigners. Strong field of 24 cars will be taking the green flag momentarily for tonight's Late Model Stock Car event. The driver starting on the pole, the gentleman that has won 2 races so far in 1994, and with a top qualifying time of 16.983 seconds, will be on the pole for tonight's event. That'll be the 27 of Greg Edwards out of Poquoson, Virginia. On the outside of the front row, the number 47 of Phil Warren from Norfolk, Virginia, in the Miller Mart Racing entry. Phil, of course, the winner of the Road to Charlotte 200-lap event just a few weeks ago. Starting off in the second row will be the number 6 of Roger Sawyer, the last Late Model Stock Car Series winner we saw here. The 04 of Bugs Harefield from Chesterfield, Virginia, lines up on the outside of that second row. Third row tonight will be the number 48 machine of Sean Beluso, as well as the number 57 of 4-time feature winner Eddie Johnson. Going off in row number 4, the 26 machine of Danny Edwards Jr. and the number 77 of Jody McCormick. In the fifth row tonight, the number 4 machine of Bob Shreves, along with the number 2 car of Craig Easteb. Row number 6 will be the 21 of Danny Ray Baker and the 11 of Jimmy Humblett. A pair of rookies will make up that row. Off in the 7th row this evening, the number 18 machine of Terry Harris and the number 9 of Mike Connor. Row number 8 will be the number 10 of Paul DeBolt and the 99 of Ed Huffman. Field getting the green flag here as we get set for another 100-lap grind for the Late Model Stock Car Series. Other drivers in the field tonight here at Langley Raceway include the 94 of points leader Buddy Malish, starting back in the 17th position tonight. Buddy had a terrible qualifying effort, something mechanically wrong with the car as he fell way back in the order or had some troubles on his initial lap of qualification, so he will have a long way to go here in tonight's 100-lap grind. Eddie Johnson in the outside retaining wall on the front straightaway. Several cars scattering in turn number 1 and 2. And there will be several of them tied up, but Johnson was the one car that looked like he was almost going to straighten it out, but unfortunately gets tangled up and now will make the visit down on pit road. 23 of Fred Siebert, the number 4 of Bob Shreves, 2 other cars involved as 3 sit here in turn number 1. At Langley Raceway, 1 lap complete before the caution came out over in turn number 1 and 2. Most of the drivers involved have been able to continue on here in tonight's event. '27 of Greg Edwards is your leader with the number 6 machine of Roger Sawyer holding on to the number 2 spot. 48 machine of Sean Beluso currently in third with the 47 machine of Phil Warren in the number 4 spot. Position currently being occupied by the 04 machine of Bugs Harefield as a spinning car over in turn number 4 by is Lonesome. He'll come back out on the grassy area and now get up to the gearbox one more time. That'll be the 23 machine of Fred Siebert in the FW Siebert Financial car. 5 laps in the books here in the 100-lap event. Challenged by Roger Sawyer, and he loves getting down as low as he possibly can on the racetrack, and did that time wonder that he didn't lose it off the second turn, but is able to grit his teeth and hold on to that wheel. He remains in the number 2 spot with the 48 of Sean Beluso right now comfortably in third. 4th position going to Phil Warren, in the number 5 spot being held by the 04 of Bugs Harefield. 6th on the speedway for the moment, the 26 of Danny Edwards Jr. 7th going to the number 2 of Craig Easteb. 8th is the 21 of Danny Ray Baker as the field comes back to complete lap number 8 of the feature event. 9th on the grid is the 18 of Terry Harris with the 11 of rookie campaigner Jimmy Humblett rounding out the order. mentioned the good runs that Danny Ray Baker has had, good qualifying efforts, and also some good consistent finishes. He started back in the 11th position tonight and right now running well up in the order. He's improved 3 notches up into the 8th position as the field works on the Fred Siebert car. And meanwhile, trouble over in turn number 4. Another car getting turned around off the 4th turn here on the 9th circuit. And again, the caution flag will wave. Danny Edwards, or I should say Greg Edwards, in car number 27, your early pace setter. Roger Sawyer has tried a couple of low side passes in the turns, kicking up some dirt and sparks, and still is holding on to the number 2 spot. Hasn't had a chance really to get around him in that number 1 spot. He'll be right on that rear bumper, glued to it as they get sent to go back to green. On the restart, 3rd position, Sean Beluzzo, but we got a big challenge. Bugs Harefield to the outside of Phil Warren. The 47 and the 04 go at it over in turn number 3 and 4. Harefield trying to make his high side pass stick as he works back to the stripe. Warren's got him at the stripe and also on the inside. Danny Edwards Jr. holds on to that number 6 spot. 7th on the grid continues to be Greggfesto. Danny Ray Baker in the number 9 spot, followed by the 18 of Terry Harris and the 11 of Jimmy Humblett. 11 on the board when they come back to the stripe this time. Single file most of the way. You'll have to go outside the top 10 to find it. Buddy Dozier, the number 1, making a move on Ed Hoffman down the back straightaway for well back in the order as Greg Edwards works back to the stripe. Still right behind him, tightly in second, is a 6 of Roger Sawyer. Harefield's challenge on Warren did not work as he falls back in line to the number 5 position, now feeling the pressure from Danny Edwards Jr. Meanwhile, it's Warren applying the pressure up there in 3rd to Sean Beluzzo. Warren gets an edge on him off turn number 4 and back to the stripe. He's on the inside trying to get that 3rd spot. And again, the caution flying here on lap number 13, the latest yellow flag here tonight at Langley Raceway. The 05 of Doug Gotze as he comes by the stripe getting the black flag. A lot of damage done to that car as he was involved in one of those first cautions over in turn number 1 and 2. 57 of Eddie Johnson was one of the cars involved. The Ashland Ford gunning for victory number 5 tonight has already had to park that machine. Also, the 28 machine of Tommy Shiflett was one of the other cars that was involved. Tommy has also had to call it quits here in tonight's activities. 13 on the board. We'll be back with more action in a moment. Flag racing, 13 laps currently in the books with Greg Edwards, Roger Sawyer, Sean Beluzzo in 3rd with heavy pressure from Phil Warren with Bugs Harefield in your top 5. Back to green to Langley Raceway. A couple of cars that have had their share of trouble early tonight. The 23 of Fred Siebert and the 05 machine of Doug Gotze have fallen into the pit area. As we mentioned, a couple of other casualties as a result of that first caution in turn number 1 included the 57 of Eddie Johnson and the number 28 machine of Tommy Shiflett. Meanwhile, with that in mind, the attrition rate now set. Let's go back to the front of the pack where Roger Sawyer has continued to use those low side tactics to try and get around Greg Edwards, and he again is down as low as he can off turn number 4. Sawyer will be your second leader of this event by a bumper at the stripe. He's got the low side going for him, so he'll take the lead off turn number 2. Edwards to second, Beluzzo 3rd, Warren in 4th, and Harefield 5th. Siebert gets the 23 machine back up to the gearbox and is ready to bring that car back out of the pit area. From the back of the field in the number 6 spot, it continues to be Danny Edwards Jr. 7th on the grid is the number 2 machine of Greggfesto. 8th is currently Danny Ray Baker with pressure from Terry Harris back in 9th with rookie campaigner Jimmy Humblett also having a good run for 10th position. But right in front of Humblett, the challenge is up, and Terry Harris takes over the number 8 spot. Harris was on the charge in the last late model stock car event here at Langley Raceway, and again he puts the Blackhawk Performance car number 18 around the Danny Ray Baker Jr. car. We're now trying to latch on to the next series of cars, which pretty much is the entire lead pack headed by the number 6 machine of Roger Sawyer. back in the number 6 spot. Craig Estep now begins to look on the inside of Danny Edwards Jr., and he's got a bead on the number 26 as they work off at turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Harris in the 18 trying to take advantage of that battle just in front of him by gathering those two drivers in. He tries to do it. Estep makes the pass work, and he moves into the number 6 spot. Edwards now running in 7th position. Terry Harris holding on to the 8th spot. 9th going to Danny Ray Baker Jr. And 10th is the number 9 of Mike Connor. He climbs the outside retaining wall. Jimmy Humlett also collects him over at turn number 3 and 4. And it looks like Connor's car will receive the most severe damage as he'll work it down on pit road. Everybody involved in the caution is able to move away. And Connor's number 9, there you see it in the pit area. The right door sheared away, as well as the right front fender. And a lot of sheet metal damage done to the number 9 as he brings the latest caution out here on lap number 19.
I don't know if you eat all of it.
You're going to, because I've already eaten a bag. I bought mine.
Don't want to feel as bad now, do you?
No. Well, I bought mine. I didn't think it'd come up there.
Terrible. Terrible.
It's always promising.
Back to green, lap number 20 about to be complete. Roger Sawyer able to get up to the gearbox rather quickly that time, and well, has put himself about a car length and a half, make it 2 over the 27 machine of Greg Edwards. Roger rather happy as things are going well for the Sawyer family as of recently. Elton, of course, his older brother, picking up the Busch Grand National Series victory just a couple of weeks ago over at the Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina for Elton's first career Busch Series victory. And about a week or two prior to that, Roger picked up his first late model stock car series win since making a return to racing action, hooking up with the number 6 Earl's Auto Parts racing team this year. Trouble again on the back straightaway. 2 cars getting tied up. Looks to be Buddy Dozier and possibly also the 94 machine of Buddy Malish. And that'll again bring the latest caution out, this time on lap number 22.
Thank you.
22 circuits on the board here at Langley, and the caution has flown quite often here in the early stages of tonight's late model stock car 100-lap event. Again, thanks to our sponsors, WTKR-TV, Eyewitness 3 News, and also to the folks from WCMS 100.5 Top Country FM radio. We thank them for their sponsorship help here at the Action Track of the South. Meanwhile, up front, Roger Sawyer continues to lead the way in the early stages as we get set to go about a quarter of a way through the 100-lap grind. Greg Edwards holds on to second. Third position on the raceway is Sean Beluzzo. Phil Warren is fourth, and Bugs Harefield holds on to the number 5 position. Good ride going tonight for Craig Estep, the driver of the Spectator Sport Car number 2 machine. And he may pick up another spot in front of him because Phil Warren just went down on the dirt in turn number 4. Bugs Harefield was able to get around him. Harefield will now get around Sean Beluzzo. Beluzzo now loses several spots as something's wrong with the 48, and the Ross Auto Parts entry now gives up several spots down the back straightaway. So what looked to be a disaster for Phil Warren, he doesn't lose anything really in the translation. He holds on to the number 4 spot. He was trying to get around Beluzzo. It didn't work off turn 4. He gave up a spot to Bugs Harefield, but moments later Beluzzo has his troubles and now is on pit road. 10 machine of Paul DeBow with some sheet metal damage done to the left front of that car brings that car down on pit road as we have entered lap number 26, just past the quarter-way mark here in tonight's 100-lap grind. Ed Hoffman of the Ross Auto Parts, number 99, also bringing his car down on pit road. He's got severe damage done to the right rear of that car. Looks like they're trying to peel that sheet metal away. Sean Beluzzo back off out of pit road, but he is at least one lap down in the order. As a matter of fact, comes out right where he was in the order, as Roger Sawyer and Greg Edwards have been able to now peel away as a result of the altercation back there for third spot. Harefield in the 04 is in third. Phil Warren now challenges for that spot in fourth. Craig Estep is fifth. It's Danny Edwards Jr. in the number 6 spot. Seventh going to Terry Harris. Danny Ray Baker is eighth. Warren continues a low side of maneuvering on Bugs Harefield as he work off turn number 4 and back to the stripe. 29 on the board, and he's chipping away on Harefield. And now he is able to get him over in turn number 1 and 2. Harefield continues his high side momentum, but Warren continues to inch a little bit away from him each time by. 30 on the board. Roger Sawyer looking to pick up his second victory of 1994 in this young season. Is a very hazy, hot, and humid night, and these drivers really experienced it, and we're going to see it. Whatever drivers in the Interstate Batteries victory circle tonight, they are going to be heaving a sigh of relief that they're out of that car as they work back to the stripe to put lap number 31 on the board. Greg Edwards, a two-time winner, has experienced the joys of victory twice. And right now, Phil Warren trying to move around Bugs Harefield. Harefield just won't give up on that outside. And moments ago, it looked like Warren was finally going to be able to get around him for good, but Harefield continues to fight hard on the outside. Ed Hoffman brings the Ross Auto Parts 99 back out off of pit road, just in between the top two cars. Side-by-side battle between Warren and Harefield continues here on lap number 33 as Roger Sawyer puts another lap in the record book, 17 shy of the halfway point. Fifth position is the number 2 at Craig Estep, having a great run tonight. Sixth is Danny Edwards Jr. Seventh going to the 18 of Terry Harris. Eighth on the field is Danny Ray Baker, as Sean Beluzzo and also Bob Shreves at number 4 machine are farther back in the order. Field pretty much settled down now after a flurry of caution activity early in tonight's event, and they work back for lap number 35, just 15 shy of the halfway point. Warren has been able to make the pass around Harefield, and now he is comfortably in third position, so Harefield is back in fourth, exactly where he qualified. Roger Sawyer has been the driver to watch out for. He started back at a third position tonight, made quick work of Phil Warren and Greg Edwards. So he has had his work cut out for him, beating two of the best in the business who have combined for 3 feature victories here this year. That's not an easy task, and gets around them. Meanwhile, for one driver that has had some good runs here and has not scored a victory in 1994, the number 94 machine of Buddy Malish has had a night he'd like to forget. The point leader, as we mentioned, had some mechanical troubles during the race, or I should say the time trials. Qualified only 17th fastest as he pretty much crapped out on his first time run early this evening. Had to go into the pit area, so when he was ready to come back out, he was only allowed one lap of time, and he ended up making it 17th fastest. And since then, he has been tied up on 2 different occasions here on the racetrack, and it looks like the number 94 is going to be in trouble or danger of losing that points lead going into tonight's event. He had a 20-point edge over the number 47 machine of Phil Warren. 210 to 190 was the gap. Third in the point standings was the 27 of Greg Edwards, with Terry Harris and Eddie Johnson tied for fifth with Johnson's troubles. And the way Harris is running right now, it looks like Terry should be able to break the tie. And one driver that's absent from tonight's activities, that is the number 16 machine of Chip Hudson. Chip was fourth in the point standings, and it looks like that driver will fall a little bit farther down in the point standings tonight as well. 40 on the board here with Roger Sawyer still showing the way. Greg Edwards trying to reel him back in second as we get close to halfway. Langley Raceway, lap number 44 is the lap everybody's working on right now. Roger Sawyer of the Earl's Used Auto Parts number 6 machine having things pretty much his own way in the early stages of tonight's event. But, of course, strategy always plays out here in these races, and it seems like every event here at Langley Raceway, you get down to those final 15 or 20 laps, that's when things really get exciting. And the week that Roger Sawyer picked up the win is a night in which he made a hard charge and came away with his first victory of the '94 campaign. Greg Edwards still in second in car number 27. That's the Danny's Glass-sponsored machine. Third on the field still is a 47 of Phil Warren. Fourth going to Bugs Harefield, and a challenge for a fifth soon to go up on the board. Craig Estep is there. He got around Denny Edwards Jr. earlier in the race, and now Edwards looks like he's ready to make a battle to get back around him. Seventh on the racetrack for the moment, going out to the number 18 machine of Terry Harris. The eighth position still being held by the number 21 machine of Danny Ray Baker. Ninth position on the speedway. Well, there's a couple of different cars involved. The number 4, Bob Shreves, and then there's a lab machine of Sean Beluzzo.
Thanks for the plug on it, Phil.
Oh, okay.
That's the number. Call it next Sunday and they'll line you up.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Good enough.
Two laps shy of the halfway point here in Langley Raceway's 100-lap event for the Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. Roger Sawyer now beginning to work just a little bit of lap traffic, and it seems like it's been a long time since the leaders can get into lap traffic, so pretty much a very strong field tonight at Langley Raceway. Coming up on the number 51 machine of Rusty Wood. Now, Rusty was tacked on to this field as he was not here in time for the time trial activity earlier this afternoon, and Rusty making his first appearance at Langley Raceway for 1994. 06 machine of Buck Gotze, as well as the number 68 of rookie Kevin Cunningham will be some of the other cars that Sawyer will have to encounter on this series of lap traffic. The number 5 of Tommy Gibbs, a car they worked around moments ago. And just a lap ago, halfway went up on the board. 51 now on the board this time by as we now work into the second stage of tonight's late model stock car event. Sawyer handled lap traffic very well. Edwards can't seem to close the gap, but the Earl's Used Auto Parts team has to be happy with the performance they're seeing right now. Trouble over in turn number 2, the 06 of Buck Gotze spinning and right in front of the leaders as he stirs up a cloud of dust over in turn number 2. He is able to hold on and get that car back on the racing surface. So we will stay green flag racing here as 53 goes on the board this time by. Sawyer, the number 6, continues as the leader. One of the cars he just passed, the 68 of Kevin Cunningham. The CarQuest Auto Parts machine may have a tire going down, and that car is off the pace over in turn number 2. On the board here as Roger Sawyer now enjoying a clear track, and looks like he'll have a clear track for quite some time. 25 cars started the event. The attrition rate has been just a tad high as some cars got tied up over in turn number 1 earlier tonight, one of those being the 57 of Eddie Johnson to the Ashland Ford car, one of the early retirees. 68 of Kevin Cunningham we mentioned moments ago in the CarQuest Auto Parts entry slowing, and he is now to the assistance of his crew down on pit road. 58 on the board as Sawyer works back to the stripe. Greg Edwards just well within striking distance, remains in second. Phil Warren seems to be gaining somewhat back there in third. And then we have a couple of lap cars to deal with before fourth place Bugs Harefield, and then the fifth place machine of Craig Estep. Danny Edwards Jr. right now running in sixth. Terry Harris in seventh. Danny Ray Baker in the number 8 spot. Again, as we mentioned, clear track for Roger Sawyer. It is over a turn before he gets to the next slower car, which would be the number 5 machine of Tommy Gibbs, who he passed just not too long ago. So that is working to his advantage tonight, not having to deal with too much lap traffic. But it seemed like at the one point when he was still maintaining what little bit of a lead he had over Greg Edwards. And once again, that interval for second and third continues to shrink somewhat. Phil Warren in the 47, the Miller Mart entry, continues to close that gap. Harefield in the 04, falling the back in the field in the number 4 position with Craig Estep in 5th. Craig's been feeling the pressure from Danny Edwards Jr. for several laps as now they work back to the stripe for lap number 62, working on the 51 of Rusty Baker. Terry Harris of the 18 also there, a very tight fifth position, or should say sixth on the field right now as Harefield works back to the stripe. Seventh, we should say, put it out there. We'll get it straight one of these days. Danny Ray Baker holding on to that 8th spot, but now everybody's pretty much clear lap traffic, so Harefield leading that next pack of cars as Sawyer works back to the stripe for lap number 64. Checking some of the other cars that are running here on the raceway, not necessarily in the order. We mentioned Roger Sawyer, the leader here in car number 6, 27 to Greg Edwards in second, 47 to Phil Warren has just gathered him right in back there in third. As we mentioned, the 4th place machine of Bugs Harefield, 5th Craig Estep, 6th is Danny Edwards Jr., 7th being the Terry Harris machine, and 8th the Danny Ray Baker. Other cars still running on the raceway at this time, the number 4 machine of Bob Shreves, the 48 of Sean Beluzzo, the number 51 machine of Rusty Wood, the 99 car of Ed Huffman, also the 94 of point leader Buddy Malish, who has had a miserable night here, but trying to rack up as many points as he can to stay up top of the series. 68 of Kevin Cunningham, the number 11 of Jimmy Humblett, the 06 of Buck Godsey, and the number 5 of Tommy Gibbs. Those are some of the other cars in action. Meanwhile, back to the front, it's a challenge for the runner-up honors here on lap number 67 off of turn number 2. Phil Warren in the Miller Mart entry may be the driver, saving the best for last with 33 laps to go. Make it 32. Warren makes the challenge for the number 2 spot. Dead even and side by side for that second spot. Roger Sawyer remains the leader, but it's Phil Warren and Greg Edwards. Edwards showing the horses down the backstretch, forging ahead, but he's got to deal with that low, or should say the high side right now, as Warren's got the inside track. Those two drivers again square off down the front straightaway, with Edwards still showing the way in second. One car going up in smoke just in front of the leaders. That looks to be the Ross Auto Parts number 99 of Ed Huffman, and he'll get it a harm's way and bring that car down on pit road, and Phil Warren gets in this second. So that's a key move for Warren here on lap number 70. 30 circuits to go, and they have bear down a little bit on the Roger Sawyer car, despite the fact they raced side by side for a few laps. Sawyer was not able to pull away from him, so let's see whether Warren is a driver to watch out for. He'll clear the lap machine of Tommy Gibbs off turn number 4, and now set sail with 29 laps to go on the number 6 machine. Between the top 3 and that 4th place car, almost a straightaway back to Bugs Harefield. And meanwhile, while we were enthralled in the battle up front between Phil Warren and Greg Edwards back for second spot, Craig Estep has gone back a few notches in the order. Harefield is in 4th position. 5th now goes to Danny Edwards Jr. Danny Ray Baker has moved into 6th. Terry Harris is 7th. And Craig Estep has fallen back into the 8th position. So the Spectator Sports Car number 2 machine having some troubles and now begins to fade just a little bit. 75 just about set to be put on the board tonight. 25 circuits to go here in the WTKR TV, WCMS FM 100.5 Radio 100. at Langley. 80 laps go on the board here for Roger Sawyer. Meanwhile, Phil Warren is now beginning to bear right down on him. A few car lengths separating first from second. Greg Edwards remains your third-place car. He has fallen away from those top two machines as Warren and Sawyer look to be the two drivers to duke it out here in the final 19 circuits. 04 of Bugs Harefield remains your fourth-place machine for the moment as they work back to the stripe. Fifth position still being given now to Danny Ray Baker as he gets around the Danny Edwards Jr. car. Edwards falling back into the sixth position. Seventh going to the 18 and Terry Harris, as that pretty much does it for most of the cars on the lead lap. Only a few of the cars remaining here on lap number 83. Well, as Sawyer showing his full hand, is Warren, or is he saving something for the final 15 circuits of action here, or has he just given up and used everything he's got? Right now, Phil Warren into 47, hoping that's the case as he has reeled him right in and only is a few car lengths off the rear deck lid of the Earl's Used Auto Parts number 6 machine as he works off the fourth turn and back to the stripe. The next car to encounter would be the number 11 machine of Jimmy Humblett, the rookie campaigner who had a good run going until being tied up with Mike Connor over in turn number 3 early in the event. Jimmy at the time was running 10th on the field, had a good run going, probably the best of the season for the driver of the Creative Spas at Dex Entry. Right now, Sawyer debating on which way to go around the number 11 machine as he works back to the stripe. 85 on the board, 15 to go. Danny Ray Baker still with a chance to catch the 04 Bugs Harefield. Meanwhile, back there in the number 4 spot as they work Tommy Gibbs and Buck Gotze down the back straightaway. Sawyer has pretty much led a good the majority of tonight's event. Greg Edwards in the 27, who was the pole sitter earlier tonight at a time of 16.983 seconds. As we mentioned, Sawyer had the task of passing two of the tougher drivers in the field, one of those being Phil Warren, who was the winner of the only 200-lap event that has been run here at the Langley Raceway so far this year. And right now, Warren probably feeling like with the heat and humidity that he has already run 200 laps. Right now, Sawyer seems to be stretching that advantage out just a little bit as 88 goes on the board this time by and 12 circuits to go. So we'll see whether Roger did save just a little bit for the end or whether Phil Warren will be able to make a challenge here in the final 11 and a half circuits. Eastham in car number 2 is still on the lead lap right up there in the top 10, and he's about to go a lap down to Sawyer and company as he worked down the back straightaway. 89 on the board. Phil Warren about 6 to 7 car lengths back in that number 2 spot. Greg Edwards in the 27 holding on comfortably the 3rd. Bugs Harefield in 4th. Danny Ray Baker remains your 5th place machine with Danny Edwards Jr. the number 6 spot. As the field works, or should say leaders, work off turn number 2. 90 went on the board that time by with just 10 circuits to go. The number 4 machine, Bob Shreve's having a good run. He now brings his car down onto pit road. For the 4th turn, the Kevin Cunningham machine will be the next to negotiate, and the way things are working here lap-wise, could be a good chunk of traffic that he may have to encounter here on the final few circuits of tonight's event. 92 currently up on the board. Warren once again staying well within striking distance as they work off turn number 4. Some of the lap machines include Buddy Malish, Rusty Wood, Kevin Cunningham, and the number 5 machine to Tommy Gibbs. One car coming out of the pits. That'll be the 4 Bob Shreves just in front of the leaders. Sawyer now begins to work the back markers again, getting around Shreves. Now the Kevin Cunningham car as he works turn 3 and 4. 94 will go on the board this time by 6 circuits to go. Working traffic rather devilishly as he works off into turn number 2. The Rusty Wood number 51 will be the next machine he'll encounter. Phil Warren, knowing time is running out, is now trying to gain back on him as Sawyer's on the high side of Rusty Wood off that 4th turn and back to the stripe. He has cleared a few lap cars but may still have some more traffic to deal with before this race comes to a conclusion. 5 of Tommy Gibbs, a 94 Buddy Malish, the 06 of Buck Gotze. 3 of the cars just in front of that lead duo as they work down the back straightaway. Gotze, oh, trouble spinning right in front of the leaders. Phil Warren will shoot around Roger Sawyer down the back straightaway. Oh, was slow in developing as Buck Godsey was just slowly bringing that car around, and eventually it did after contact with another car. And you could just see it happening in slow motion that Roger Sawyer was going to get caught up in it, and Phil Warren right behind him, able to duck to the outside and shoot around the number 6 machine. Four circuits to go here at Langley Raceway, the 100-lap event for the Winston Racing Series late model stock cars. 96 on the board. A hairy moment for Roger Sawyer in turn number 2 as he is back in the number 1 spot for the final 4 circuits, unless Phil Warren has something to say about it. The Millimart number 47, and now we got some trouble on one car here on the front straightaway, the number 11 machine of Jimmy Homblett, as everything continues on down the back chute. Sawyer was working a bevy of lap traffic, and now it should be a clear track the rest of the way as we stay green. Back to the stripe, 97 on the board for the Earl's Auto Parts number 6 car. Greg Edwards in the 27 remains in third, trying to negotiate the Craig Eastep machine. And a good battle between Danny Ray Baker down the back straightaway and Bugs Harefield for 4th. Baker gets a spot in turn number 4. Back to the stripe, 2 laps to go. Boy, Baker has really been showing some strength down here tonight. Qualifying 11th, now up to the number 4 spot. Down the back chute, the lap car at Craig Eastep separates him from 3rd place Greg Edwards. Meanwhile, it's white flag for Roger Sawyer. Down the back chute for the final time, and again clear track for him as the number 6 machine looks to get ready for victory number 2 in the 1994 racing season here at Langley Raceway. And the winner of the 100-lap event for the late model stock cars, Chesapeake, Virginia campaigner Roger Sawyer. Phil Warren comes home in 2nd, Greg Edwards 3rd, Danny Ray Baker in 4th, and Bugs Harefield is your top 5.